Hello, and welcome to the 12th episode of Last Attempt, a World of Warcraft Guildcast. I'm your host, Squirrelthug, and joining me today is a guest host from our guild, Straam. Usually, typically play the role of healer. You tried DPS, I think, at one point, but yeah. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I thought I would want a DPS for a little bit, but I come back to healing actually being a way I can contribute a lot better to raids. I'm actually better at it than I am DPSing at this point.
Yeah, I tried DPSing, and they cursed the rogues. So nothing I can do until like next season probably. But today we're going to cover the post race interview breakdown with I think his name is Maximus, and there's some lure nerfs that were going out. I think they're actually going to be coming out pretty soon. Um, Before 12.0.5, and then there's also some 12.0.5 patch previews, and we are going to go a little bit over some interesting facts about Microsoft and how their business is doing right now, especially that's especially relevant now that we are here in the era where they own Activision and thus own Blizzard. Also today with us is Templar Ivanhoe. How you doing, man?
Yo,
We're gonna do a quick little roundtable like we normally do. We like to start with our guest. So, Strom, what have you been up to in World of Warcraft this last week?
Well, I reached hero gear with all my slots at least with some mythic stuff, and then didn't have anything to do, so I put a Fury Warrior together, and it took me a couple days to get up to 90 after boosting the level to 80, and that's been interesting. I picked a name from a friend of mine who died about a year ago from skin cancer. It was a character he played back in vanilla. It was actually a shaman, but the name was Lamorak, so I brought him back as just sort of a remembrance. So I've been messing around with that character.
What level is that?
Oh, he's 90 now. I hit 90 not last night, but the night before. It was pretty quick.
Oh,
So
nice. Okay, that's
I'm
pretty
playing
cool.
around with that while jumping in to help with Mythic Pluses a bit and trying to raid with the guild and then pug Mythics with a couple different groups.
How have the mythic pugs gone?
Well, I've gotten Mythic Chimeras down, and then the first two bosses in Voidspire. Although this week I only got the first boss and Chimeras, so I mean they both have interesting loot that I need, so hopefully it'll pop in the guild vault.
Have you gotten this with like the same groups, or you just is this like random every time?
Um, it was a different groups each time. There was a group I was gonna run with this week that I last week got the first two bosses of Voidspire with, but it was the same time as the guild raid, and I love raiding with you guys. I wasn't gonna dip out and helping the guild progress to just try to chase shiny little purple icons.
Yeah, we've had a few people do that before. So, Templar, what have you been up to this last week?
um, really trying to just get back to playing the auction house. I know I mentioned it a few times and stuff, but really trying to go hard into really getting back into it. Um, Part of that is not just crafting, but it's re-getting back into what's selling and what's not. Another thing is trying not to wait until the night before reset to do the abundance uh, events. The reason being, you do the abundance events so I can get the fuse vitality, so then I can get the max level crafting equipment. But it is a real slog, unfortunately. It's very time consuming to do 8 of those, and not only on one character but on 4 characters. The good news though is that with the next patch and reset, that they are going to, with the new, I don't remember if it's fishing. I think the way it was described, it's like a diving event. You'll be able to get those fused vitalities.
Oh, the
Um,
spearfishing thing.
yeah, you'll be able
Oh
to.
yeah, that one looked interesting.
Mhm.
So
So
are you getting like rewards for getting achievements for getting the vitality things, or is this like you can buy it from the vendor, or you get it through the game?
you get it through the game. Basically, whenever you do the abundance events, that you use the shards of Dun Duns. Um, you then get the, I think it's, what was it called? Let's see if I can find the name here. It is the unalloyed abundance, and you turn those in for the fused vitality. Um, and it's what, 900 of those per
For
vitality.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and you need 20 of them for a singular um, max level crafting equipment. So, I'm trying to focus on uh, the main equipment slot, for example, like the blacksmith hammer first, and then eventually move to the secondary equipment, like the blacksmith's apron and then the toolbox. But again, it's very slow going. It's very time consuming and it's boring as all heck. But
Yeah, I
just
can't
trying to get
imagine
those.
doing that for all the different, professions. That's crazy. Doing it just for enchanting was like, "I don't wanna do this again."
Yeah. Um, but hopefully with the spearfishing and the abundance events, I can hopefully get those done a lot faster.
That'd be good for saving time.
Oh yeah.
So one of the oh well, I guess for the last week, what I've been up to has been not very much WoW. I've had a few incidents, and so I've gotten to the game fairly late this week, and Tuesday through Thursday we raid. So I think one I showed up late, and then I had network issues. I had to work that out before I was even able to get on. And then another one I showed up barely on time, and then I think the maybe it was like Wednesday night. I was on like maybe 30 minutes before, but I wasn't able to do very much. So um, I did, however, get one gear piece of upgrade on my shoulder. So I still have two veteran pieces that in my gear slots, but I think this weekend I'm gonna have a lot more time to actually like hit some mythics and just try to grind out some gear. There's like a couple gear slots that I need to just get a different gear piece in, that more optimal piece than what I have right now.
Yeah, those can be a grind. Like, I was lucky enough to find Pit of Sauron had 3 pieces I need to finish out to get full hero, and, it took 20, 25 runs to get it all. The last one just being a lucky drop, the first one the next day. But, like, Pathrin, man, to go for 100 runs in one of those places to get one item and you still can't get it is ins
Well, come Tuesday, I'm not gonna have that problem anymore. At that point, I think I'm just gonna look up a guide. I'm sure, I said it before. I'm sure some of these nerds are gonna have tables that rank all of your trinkets and everything, and then rank them by how many of these void currencies that they cost, right? Because you only get two a week, and you can spend one per bonus roll in mythics, or you can spend two per bonus roll in raids. So depending on which raid you're in or which mythic level that you're in is probably going to determine where you should be spending your currency, right? Like if you are able to push 12s, you might be in a better position to spend your currency on the best in slot items that you're getting from certain dungeons in the Mythic queue, than you would be if you're only on heroic um, raid, right? Like there may be a difference between those, especially given what you already have available and what you have. So I'm sure this is going to be something in the realm of like players that simulate their classes to see which one of these things is better, and then coming up with some logic to determine a ranking order for which ones you should approach first. But because you can't just start spreading it out, right? Like you're gonna have to focus on items that you want before you move on to the next one, to so that it makes sense, because you're really only taking out of one table.
Well, if you do Mythic pluses, you're only going to get hero gear though if you use those, right? You're not going to be rolling. It's not going to be giving you Mythic gear.
I'd
Yeah, I
imagine it
believe
would
so.
be Mythic, yeah.
Oh,
Or
it will be Mythic when you use so you can use
oh, I see
one
what you mean. Yeah, the
reroll
eye
for
level.
one Mythic item, or you're going to get one hero item.
Yeah, you might
You
be right. That's a good
well,
question.
it like that's the thing is, are you making progression on mythic bosses in raid, right? If you're not, or you're only downing chimeras mythic every week, but you're still progging on any of the other ones, then like you are not in a position to do one or the other, right? Like you can only do, you're only getting hero gear. So
Right.
right, so but if you are progging on mythic and you're doing pretty good with that, then it's probably a better idea for you to do that. But let's say you're only you're progging on the third boss and you've only got the first two down, where you're doing them every week in Voidspire. Have you gotten lucky already, or have been funneled gear by your guild and stuff from that boss, so that you don't actually need any more of the drops from the table? Like, then there's nothing eligible for you. So then now you're back to, you should be focusing on one of the mythic bosses, like, or mythic raids, or not raids, sorry. One of the mythic plus dungeons. Like, that's going to have a table that is that you want to roll on. So
Right, but it's not going to give you Mythic loot to roll on. I think though your Guild Vault slots, you're going to be able to roll on those, so you can re-roll from those
no,
items. Yeah.
you no, you're there's a thing that they're bringing out where you're going to be able to, if you don't like anything in your vault, the currency that you're purchasing or that you get, you can use that currency to buy the bonus roll
Oh, I see. Yeah, I
currency.
misread that.
So I don't think so. Like the forge that we're helping build with Decimus, from that forge you'll get two every week. But if you were to buy,
Those stack up to like roll over, and if you don't use the two, will you have four
yeah,
the next
yeah,
week?
they don't go away.
Okay.
You can just keep them. But it'll be like a weekly thing, and just like any of the other things, I'm sure that the amount that you can earn each week is going to go up as the amount goes up, right? Like the first week you can only ever earn two, but the next week maybe you can just buy four if you haven't bought any at all, right? So that you're not like locked out. Like you just lost out on the first two and you'll never get them again. I imagine that they'll just let you just grind up to catch up, right? This is like the catch up mechanics they bake into everything. So
No.
I've been I don't remember reading any details on that, but I imagine that that's how it's going to function. And you're going to get two every week. And if you don't like your vault, you don't want anything in there, and you get enough currency, you'll be able to purchase from vendor right next to the vault. With that currency that you get, you'll be able to buy another void like token. And I think it's only one that you get to buy, but hey, that's another mythic plus roll if you're getting stuff from there. Um, Plus, some people's best in slots are genuinely just from, right, like mythic plus dungeons, aren't they? So yeah, like the highest you're gonna get on that is hero, but along with the Voidforge, there's a nil hammer that's like being created there as well. That's supposed to upgrade your gear. So if you're like 6 out of 6, you could just upgrade it to a higher level. and that's what the forge is for, and the hammer. So, getting something from a Mythic Plus might not be that bad just because it's hero. You'll be able to upgrade that one.
You can upgrade it to Mythic, that changes the whole everything, and then you don't have to do the Mythic raids to get the Mythic gear. You can just use that to upgrade your items, which is interesting.
I don't know what the mythic, or I don't know what the upgrade track is for them when you're using the hammer. Um, but I do know that it's is described as like allowing you to push your gear past its current like limits, right? So, 6 out of 6 is how each of the tracks are set for the season. And it's basically saying you'll be able to do, it'll be a 7 out of 6 or something. I don't know.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
um, or like you're saying, it'll go to the next track. It'll just push it into the next one. You'll be able to upgrade it and then regularly. No idea. Well, we will see on Tuesday. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So did either of you get an opportunity to see the interview that Maximum had with lead encounter designer Taylor Sanders and senior game designer Anthony Trejo?
I did read most of the points that WoW had put up.
Okay.
Yeah, I
There's
just read through the info also, just I didn't see the actual interview.
it was pretty long, and it was on Twitch, on his Maximum's Twitch. He streamed it, and he had the video that he had put up was actually like twice as long as the interview because he had stayed on and kind of gave some of his thoughts about it afterwards. So that's an interesting look at if anybody wants to just go look that up on Wowhead after this, after listening. But it was really cool to hear them go into discussions about design. I think one of the questions was like, did you design something for us to do, and then we solved it in a completely different way, or you had this like mechanic that you were like, oh, they're not going to be able to do it, and then we did it anyways. And I think they had brought up the Belloran and doing like the 2 egg phase thing, and just like DPSing harder and just getting through it instead of doing some other mechanic or whatever. But that overall, it was a really interesting conversation, really cool to listen in on. But one of the points that they had made was they had brought up that the next raid they were getting in 12.0.7, which is a single boss raid, just like the the Dream Rift, right? Um, it's going to be in Harndar, but it's going to be a flex raid on Mythic difficulty. So for Mythic difficulty, we will be able to bring anywhere from 15 to 25 players, um, which for our guild, in the fact that we don't have like a solid 20 for Mythic right now, that actually makes like doing Mythic raids for that boss much more doable. Like we'll I feel like if we don't have this solid group by then of a roster of 20 or more, then when that raid comes out, sometimes that's been what has stopped us from raiding Mythic and progging Mythic that night.
I think that by adding the fact you can take 15 or 25, at least in the on the pug side, you're going to see a lot more just 15-man groups because it's easier to get 15 good players than it will be to get 25 good players. There's not a lot of guilds that have too many good players, and so they're going to take 25. So I'm curious as to whether having 25 will make it easier because you have more players, or is it going to make it more difficult? And they're going to find that it's mostly just going to be 15-man runs.
I think the philosophy is trying to put an even amount of effort from players at each flex number, so that it's like basically the same, right? Like you're not, as a healer, you're not overwhelmed because it's 25 as opposed to being in there when it's 15, as long as you're bringing the right composition. And I think, players usually typically figure out how many healers you should bring, and such. It's Maximum also pointed out that going lower than 15, like, it's interesting there's not like a 10-man version for that for Mythic, but like going lower than 15 would mean that at 10 there are some raid buffs that you just wouldn't get because there's quite a lot of them in the game right now.
Right. Again, it'll be interesting, especially from the, um, I guess, not to say race the world first. My guess is that the next race in 12.1 would probably start to be limited by like 20, just as normal. But it'll be interesting to see if guilds will prioritize bringing in 15 man versus a 20 or 25. My guess would be probably not, but um, again, it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
I mean, potentially the 25 man is actually going to be easier. It all really comes down to the healing. Because when you take a 30-man raid somewhere, you actually burn stuff down faster because you only need 5 healers, and so you have extra DPS relative to the amount of players. So I'm
Hmm.
just curious if you have a 25-man Mythic and you can heal it with 4 healers, then you can burn it down so much faster than you could a 15-man where you have to take 3 healers, and the
They've been
percentage of your
doing
DPS to healing is different.
they've been adding extra healing responsibility in terms. I mean, one of the things that they had gone over in this interview was like adding healing debuffs that need to be healed off, which is actually like one of the things we're dealing with in the Illyria fight right now. Is at one point, our healers were just dispelling a debuff that was jumping between but it's the necessary mechanic to follow is that you just heal the target that's debuffed, and it takes a lot of healing, and yeah, that one is a little stressful, because if it catches somebody at low health, um, you have to heal through the debuff before that person gets any health at all. So, obviously in that situation you have to dispel them, but um, it's a gamble. You dispel them, it could go on somebody else who's low. You don't have a dispel, it's probably on cooldown. Now you have to rely on other healers to catch that or save them, or it's it could get out of hand pretty quickly. But I think they have a way of like evening out the healing pressure for healers, regardless of whether it's like 30 man or 25 man or 15.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that like the relative DPS to healers, but I mean the one you're talking about was interesting. I didn't actually don't know that mechanic, so it would pop up onto cursive and I'd be like, okay, go away. But then and it was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and then you're gonna play like if you keep dispelling it, you're playing whack-a-mole, for
Oh,
anybody who's trying to like heal through it. But yeah, once our healers get those mechanics down, and you like recognize them, then yeah, like you can heal it with like with less healers, and then you really like pump on the DPS, even if they do, at that rate, like they put a lot more health on the boss. Um the strat could just be get some real good healers.
yeah. Well, I mean that's like I said, the amount of healers relative to DPS because if it's based on the amount of people. If you can have less healers do the same amount of stuff, then it's a lot, it makes the encounter a lot easier, even if you have a bunch of people there.
If we have 25 people, I think it'd be cool to bring 25 when this when Spore Fall comes out.
Oh yeah, more is more fun.
So we are progging through Illyria right now, heroic Illyria, and we're going to jump into Belloran and Laura for heroic difficulties pretty soon. Um, and then just following that very quickly, I'm sure going right into Mythic and trying um, probably Dream Rift. I'm sure. But this is all to say that we're obviously we're on the path to making our way to Mythic Lura. Hopefully this season we make it there and get that cutting edge. Um, but there have been several nerfs now that we're out of the Race to World First and like 2 weeks out now, and we've gotten a set of nerfs that are coming. I believe these are coming with 12.0.5, or they were already out. But we have Heaven's Glaives, the glaives that are like sent out across the raid as the lasers are moving and you have to dodge lasers and the glaives. There's 5, there was 6. And that's on Heroic and Mythic. And the max duration is reduced to 2 minutes. It was 3 minutes. This means at the end of phase 1, there will be 10 glaives in the arena instead of the previous 18. So it's going to be significantly less crowded in there. Laura's health is reduced by 5% on Mythic difficulty. The Termination Matrix, which was just a crazy mechanic, and it was really, really short. There wasn't a lot of player affordance there. It went from 1.5 seconds to 2 for the cast time, and the applications were reduced to 4. So you used to have, it was like, I think for them, it was like 3 sets of the 5 applications of that spell being cast, you needed 15 interrupts. So now you're only going to need 12 interrupts. So that's a lot better. And then just several other hot fixes that are uh, coming in. So how do you guys feel about the nerfs for Lura? They seem to just like really taking the nerf bat to that fight.
I think it's to get people to see the later phases because the nerfs that they added don't affect some of the actual more problematic sections of that fight, which is like the intermission phase where people have to drop crystals and pick them up and dodge the beams, and there's tons of damage going out, which is, I think, the hardest part of that whole fight, aside from dodging glaives, which is hard, but the glaives don't one-shot you, except for when they first come off the boss. I think it's just to get people to see more of the fight. I don't, uh, because people are probably just coming up against that wall.
Yeah, uh, I think what Straam said is right. I also think that realistically, the boss was just meant, at least initially, for the Race to World First. Um, I'm just surprised that the nerfs waited so long. Like, I would have thought that they would have come out, immediately after the race, for everybody, uh, because the race is the race, and that's for the top guilds to do. It's like we've discussed before. It's something fun for us to watch, for others who don't even raid to watch or even play the game. But it's not for the overall community to play the same level that they do. So I guess they're good, but I think what Stram said is right. That we should see a lot more, or have seen a lot more during the other phases of the boss, because the intermission phase with the spreading, everybody gets a circle under them and spread out. Kind of surprised that hasn't gotten any real nerfs yet as well.
Yeah, that crystal juggling, like trying to do that while healing was I couldn't do it. I was like, you have to put a DPS on it that can do that juggle. It's crazy. As oh my god, like I was the rest of the game felt like slow motion after beating that on heroic last week because there was so much happening. It was crazy.
I can't wait to get there. That one actually looks like a lot of fun to do that fight. Uh, so we have more information on the patch coming on Tuesday, and in the Mythic Plus dungeons, we're gonna get a Lindormi's Glow, and this is different than the Lindormi's Guidance, which is active in +2 to +5s for Mythic Plus dungeons, which includes a -5% HP debuff on any of those highlighted mobs, as well as I believe there's like a -5% damage also debuff on them. So they do less damage and they have less health, and they're all highlighted. And if you run through all of them, you get 100% of how many enemies you need to beat in the dungeon while also beating the bosses. So once you go into a higher dungeon, you won't have the availability, like, because that's automatic. That just already happens. So now in the higher dungeons, there will be apparently Lindormi will be there. You can talk to her and enable it, and it's not going to have the debuff in any way. It's just going to do a highlight, and it's not going to dynamically reroute or re-add anything if you like stray from the path in the middle of it, or like grab extra mobs somewhere that aren't glowing. It's still just going to keep whatever it's set to. They're all just going to be glowing. But it does allow you to see a path through as like in a higher dungeon. You don't get the debuffs and such that are going to help make it a little bit easier, which is what it's intended to do in the earlier dungeons. But I think the path through is really nice. And it might not be the optimal path, but it is a path.
I don't really run a lot of M pluses, at least historically. I only just started doing it, and tanks are crazy. Like,
They're hard to come by though.
no offense, they're all over the place, different things everywhere, and you just have to hope that they either don't go too fast or can figure out how to pull enough without,
Or they're
you know.
just a really good tank. Because
Right.
a lot of the times, what I've experienced in M plus dungeons is either a tank knows their class well and they're able to mitigate a lot of damage and manage everything that's happening in a Mythic Plus, and um, I can focus on healing the party, who doesn't have damage mitigation spells, right? And so in Mythic Plus dungeons, when they've gone well, I've found that I'm basically only healing the party, you know, having like a blood DK in there, just blood striking all the way up to full health is pretty nice. But I think we had a monk tank, and they were able to like stagger basically like all of the damage, and they were amazing. It was incredible to see, but we don't have a lot of them. The tanks are few and far between. If you don't have a personal tank in your guild that runs Mythic Plus with you, and healers to a point are almost there, but there's definitely more healers available than there are tanks available. And I think that a change like this, where you don't, you can for sure have a guaranteed path through this without having to use an add-on. This is going to allow tanks who are just trying out the lower ones, especially with Lindormi's guidance, and let them come up into the higher ones, right? That's where people need tanks at in like the +10s, right?
Yeah, I think it's gonna add more consistency is what I was trying to say. It'll make it if you're pugging them, it'll make it a lot smoother. But as a tank temple, what do you think about all that?
I think it makes sense. Yeah. And it does make it easier. It is funny that it's coming out though as uh, a newer add-on has restored the ability to um, mark the mobs as to how much percentage they give. I'd have to double check the name of it, but it was released last week, and I was using it whenever we were doing keys the night before reset, and it does work like the old way to track them does. So it's what is it? Mythic plus count is just what it's called, all one word. So I do think it's a good thing. Makes it easier. Makes it um, not just on the healers, but on the DPS. I do see a lot of DPS as we go through keys, getting hit by things, and so it makes it easier on really everybody. For me as a tank, I already sort of know the routes, so I can just follow them in memory. Um, but for everyone else, it's always a good thing to have a little bit of extra help.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really good when people are made aware that the feature exists. You're going to be in a dungeon, you're going to see a tank, turn it on, and go, "Oh, this exists in a plus 10 and a plus 7. I should take my tank in here." Because I think that's the hardest part for a lot of players is like knowing what the route is, because that that's your responsibility as a tank. I think taking that responsibility away from tanks and just putting it in, because it's like everybody in the dungeon can see the glow. So it puts everybody on the same page. We know exactly what we're doing, what route we're taking. I think that's really great. And it's just going to end up with more tank representation, which again, like I said before, we definitely need. I'm lucky that we've got you as a tank, and sometimes like we'll have beef around. I know that Brittany just gave birth, so he hasn't been on, but we've got tanks in the guild that can fill in for like mythics and such. But when you have to go and look for them, it's so hard.
Yeah, it's a real gamble picking up pugs for tanks, unfortunately.
That too. Sometimes they're not good at staying alive, and then it's like, ooh, yeah. Then they just take all of my healing.
Hmm.
So one of the next items we have is from 12.0.5. There's a little bit more detail to add about the transmogs stuff that we're getting. When it comes to swords or staves or pole arms or any of these weapons, well, I don't think that you'll be able to do it with a staff or a pole arm, but with your swords, you can choose to do it at your hip, sheath it at your hip, sheath it on your back, or just have it not show at all. Like when you just put it away and it's gone. I believe that on your back or completely gone is going to be an option for pole arms and staves. And um, I imagine that they'll do the same thing for daggers, where it'll be either on your hip, on your belt, or like they normally are, or just not there at all. Which I think is great because some transmogs they go really well with the weapon that you chose when you decide that you either want to pull it out or it comes out in combat and that's how you use it. But it still kind of clashes because it's sitting on the hilt, or on your hip or something. And sometimes I do not like that I have daggers there or that I have swords in certain places, and I don't like the way that it goes with my outfit, and I'd like me to be able to just put it away and it be gone. So I really like that that's here, and then we also get two new situations: weather and time of day, which each of them have like four different categories, like clear, rain, snow, and sandstorm for weather, and morning, midday, evening, and night for time of day. Um, so they seem to keep adding more to the just transmog situations technology that they put in. What do you guys think about that?
Definitely good. And I was just thinking it's going to be a lot more like parasol mogs with the weather change in effect now. Um, so the more the better. And I don't know. I just they seem to be going hard on it. So
I want a combat situation, like in and out of combat. They don't have that for anyone yet, but I would like it.
well, they do at least have for outside, or I'm sorry, like combat zones.
Yeah. The only workaround I've had is for my Worgen, because there's a specific situation for Worgens where it's tied to your shapeshift. So if
Right.
I'm human, it's one outfit. If I'm a Worgen, it's another outfit. And as a Worgen, I just go into Worgen during combat and then go back to human out of combat. So that's the only trigger that's remotely it's literally exactly what I want. I just want it for other classes.
Hmm.
I think it's interesting to see what people put together, but you have to go into first person to really enjoy the different transmog stuff
I just
people
walk
do.
past people and like get my camera real close to them.
Well,
We have some more Blizzard store news, and I know that the community is probably feeling some fatigue on this, just because there's just been a lot of controversy in the store lately. But this one is seems pretty average, right? You simply need to make a purchase on the Blizzard store, but this is like the Blizzard gear store, so all the physical items. So this is something that you would purchase and it would get mailed to you. Um, and I believe they have a list. The Wowhead article that had posted about this had a list on there of like over 100 items that you can, or nearly 100 items that are eligible for this. And once you buy one of these items, this the pet that you get is a little Staropod. So it looks like a what is it? Is a brontosaurus, right, from like Jurassic Park?
Hmm.
When they took the glasses off and they saw them like run around trying to eat in the tall trees. It looks like that, but it's like made out of constellations. It's adorable. So if you the cheapest thing that would be make it eligible is like $17 on the Blizzard Gear Store. So if you really wanted to, it's less than a WoW token, and you get the pet for free. It's not like a separate purchase or something.
Yeah, and they've done this before, with different pets on the gear store, so it's not like it's anything uh, new or anything. It's just sort of a little bonus.
I mean, I think it's just another way for them to create a revenue stream for this game, which is already a powerhouse of money. Um, it's not really a pay to win game, but you can pay to get to look cooler than everyone else, which is a smart way that they're going about it.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job with not letting people buy player power in any way.
Yeah, having to earn it makes it why this game keeps going. It's not about having the money, it's really about time and skill to be able to get the good stuff, which is, I think, why it's crushed everything for so many years.
Yeah, and like we've said on some of our other podcasts, Blizzard has built World of Warcraft into an incredible IP, right? It's not just the Warcraft franchise, like specifically World of Warcraft is very profitable, and even before Microsoft acquiring them, which might have been something that got their attention, was things like having the Brutosaur, the auction house mount being sold for $90 a piece, and then it being like record-breaking sales.
Right, exactly. Um, and it's funny that the Staropod actually resembles the Brutosaur. So, um, it's I guess at this point, it's sort of a classic design almost, um, just because people are, they see it and they want it to look stylish and everything.
Yeah,
And it,
so in talking about Microsoft and Blizzard, right, and the way that Blizzard has really set up World of Warcraft to be this incredible game, this incredible revenue stream in the way that they do things, and it's even to the point that they monetize World of Warcraft differently than they do a lot of their other games. They do some pretty questionable things with like Hearthstone and Diablo. But the way the World of Warcraft is built and how it's being positioned to sort of branch out into what looks like maybe some anime productions and a lot of these other things in more media. I think that they want to do that with their other franchises in Microsoft that Microsoft owns, and but we have things that Microsoft is doing as a business that can ultimately affect what ends up happening, right? So right now it's cool because Blizzard stands as sort of this beacon. It's like, hey, look at these guys. Look at how cool they are. Look at how well they do. You should all do what they're doing. And now we have like this kind of like internal connection, and we can bridge the gap there and get some of our other studios to catch up to what this is, or have a specific paradigm for how the gaming division is going to go under Asha Sharma. But out of Asha's control, right? Out of Matt Booty's control is how Satya is going to run the company. And up till now, we've seen Microsoft spend $37.5 billion for Microsoft, right? There's capital expenditures in a single quarter, and the full fiscal year 2026 capex is projected around 146 billion, and it's almost entirely on AI infrastructures, GPUs, CPUs, data centers. They just bought 3,200 acres in Cheyenne, Wyoming for another expansion. So there's a lot of expansion coming, but simultaneously with that, we had about a 22% drop in their stock price. So depending on how you feel about this, how you feel about Microsoft, you know, does that 22% drop in their stock price means this is a really good buy? Like this is temporary and they're always going to, make it back. So this is just a discounted Microsoft stock, or is this a sign that they're buckling under the weight of trying to prop up this like sort of AI bubble that everybody's running to?
I think if you get in, that's a bigger discussion about like what AI is and where it's going. Um, and I don't even think they know what to do with it. Although now there's all the different jobs that it's taking. All these different companies are firing people by 10, 15,000 at a time.
Speaking of layoffs, as a note here, Microsoft reportedly cut 15,000 jobs across 2025, and they're
Right.
projected to lose 22,000 this year. But Microsoft made a claim that that was a rumor.
So if you think about that in terms of WoW, though, like, are they going to replace all of the new content designers with AI, and AI is just going to create its whole own story and then start building things for us to fight? Or are they going to keep those people? That's really, I think, the only way that it affects this particular game. Um, in terms of price, I think they're gonna leave the price the same as what she was talking about, which is good, or maybe and then just give us more options to buy stuff.
Asha and other executives have made announcements of like different ways that artificial intelligence can be used, especially right like when they own the data centers and they own these large models, they can kind of point them in whatever direction they want. One of those directions was security, right? And so the conversation I think I was having with you earlier, there's a new model of Claude coming out that they stopped. They're not going to put it out to the public, and the reason for that, it was finding 0-day exploits, which is a term that means that the company that manages and runs that software has had 0 days like notice, or 0 days of like action being taken on um, fixing or patching that bug that allows that exploit. So finding a 0 day is a really big deal, right? And there are black markets all over the world that sell and do business with like things like this. So when you have this thing that's going to be available to the public, which is very obviously available to this company, and its capabilities are similar to capabilities that you know other countries have, then we have to start to really reconsider what security means. And one of the things that they were talking about was putting security in the hands of AI, which I find interesting because this new model was basically able to break into a bunch of things. And I think that maybe makes some people think that like, oh, hey, that means that they're really good at like they'd probably be good at securing it, but that I don't think that logic holds. So they did want to have more AI presence in like security and automation and such for everything in Microsoft. But I don't know that that's going to be a really good idea for live service games.
Well, I think also the problem with that new cloud is Microsoft, Meta, all these giant companies are going to get it. And it's just going to be another way that they can get into all of your stuff and data harvest all your everything about you and make more money off of that, which is why they want it. And they don't want the public to have it.
Yeah, one of the things that it was basically making the claim for this new thing was you as a user could literally forget your password to any account anywhere, your Gmail, anything, and it would be able to get back in there for you.
Great. So what does that mean when the government owns that technology? Everything you own is
And what
now
does it mean
crackable.
when another government owns that technology,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's too late
Microsoft
now.
operates across borders, and so we're getting into a strange territory with how everything is going. And then Microsoft is basically at the center of it because of their development on AI technologies, and we are latched to them. You know, so I think it's really interesting where some of this stuff is going, but I think it's a good idea that players for World of Warcraft understand that the company that owns their favorite game now has spent almost $40 billion on AI technology so far this year, and in the end is going to spend like 3-4 times that by the end of the year. Um, and just to keep an eye out like what that kind of means, right? To not be sidelined by maybe new new ways that Xbox and other the games division things are going to start to monetize. You might end up seeing, you know, um, World of Warcraft trials like pop up as bundled in temporarily with like Game Pass or something. Who knows? Or the expansions being sold at, bundled in with certain things for Xbox. Really hard to tell right now, but I know that they do want to do more with Blizzard.
Well, I think that as long as the month-to-month cost of WoW stays the same, then that's just trying to find new revenue streams. And as long as it doesn't affect us and what we have to pay monthly and we can just get on and play, then, they can have at it. Although the way these AI is eating the economy and money and the environment and everything, it's all going to go reverse. And we'll do like the hippies did back in the 60s, and we'll go back to land and grow our own food and build our own houses and get away from it all. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it works out that way. I think the only worry is that if Microsoft doesn't do well and make a bounce back from this 22% drop in their stock price, then Blizzard, World of Warcraft specifically, is going to become a lifeline, right? As opposed to being just like some extra revenue on the top of everything that's doing well. Like, will become the only thing that's doing well, and there'll be a lot of pressure on the company, and the game might take a different direction. Something we haven't seen yet is Blizzard under Microsoft while Microsoft is under pressure, right? Like we haven't had that kind of era yet. So it'll be interesting to see if something like that occurs. Do you got any thoughts on that, Templar?
Uh, I don't know. I think it's very similar insofar, or I'm sorry, I agree with Straam about you know the environmental impact and everything. Um, I don't think it's exactly the end of the world, and there's going to be adjustments. But yeah, it's just difficult. Like it is going to take away some jobs, but there's still going to be a lot still there. It's just the only thing I really worry about is people relying on it too much to do their thinking. Um, you know, the unfortunate thing is that we're not exactly in we don't live in the Star Trek universe where everything, uh, goes to where we really want it to. The Star Trek is always the example of um, what we want the future to be, not necessarily the future we're in, but all the positive aspects and everything. And unfortunately, we don't have people who are going to use AI just for the good stuff or anything. It's uh, but I also agree with you, Squirrel, that uh, it should be interesting to see how much they rely on Blizzard, especially because I don't think really um, the other game companies that they own, except for maybe Bethesda, really have gone too well. We've seen what happened with Halo Infinite, and it's not really all that infinite. Um, and just how that has gone downhill. I forget what the other part that did the or what other game company did Redfall, and that was a real loss there too. So hopefully, you know, uh, it doesn't affect Blizzard too much, and we don't see too much of a change or things going off the rails or anything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, we'd have to see Microsoft under some like actual pressure, I think, to start seeing Blizzard be taken in a different direction because at that point they would be like a lifeline for the company, you know.
Right.
But it doesn't seem that we're in that position right now. Right now, it seems like Microsoft is primarily focused on investing even more in Blizzard and World of Warcraft specifically, which I'm, we even have things where it shows that Asha Sharma is having conversations with the CEO for Netflix, right? So it's not just these bundles that are coming for having Microsoft take care of the ad servers for Netflix's new free tier, right? We have more conversations about talking about bundling Netflix with Game Pass and getting
Hmm.
um, more value for what these players are expecting because the price for Game Pass has gone up and Asha Sharma has directly commented about that she wants to bring it down. Right. And so they're already thinking about different monetization models for what's already in place and bundling things with Netflix and if there's this through line, right, through like all the way through, and you can definitely see how somebody like Holly is going to be on the same conference call with Asha and the Netflix CEO and Satya, and right, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be if there's going to be any game company CEO that's going to be on a call, it's going to be somebody from Blizzard because they're one of the only game companies that they own that are in a position to start to branch out in this direction that they want the rest of them to do, right? But you have to deal with one of them first, and that's what Holly's been talking about. That's what even Asha was talking about when she was first being interviewed, and she was talking about certain things. They were, people keep constantly talking about there being so much more potential for World of Warcraft. And I think all of the media that we've seen, especially with that music video that came out recently, it really shows what could be possible. And they're obviously looking at the comments, and almost unanimously, everybody was talking about how they would absolutely watch that anime.
Hmm.
I think they would be super smart to if they keep WoW as it is, the way it builds, the way the pay structure is, they can add what they can monetize is like the shop, adding more pets, more cool looking stuff for people, but the actual gameplay stays as is and it's all skill based and you have to get good to get the stuff and then they should make a TV show, they should make a cartoon, they should make a better movie than the last one they made, which was
Yeah,
I like bad movies, so I watch it, but uh it was pretty bad.
it
Um
was only. I always say this. It was only bad because it was a Warcraft movie, but as a fantasy combat driven, right, like war movie, it was good. The CG was good, the acting was good, the story went somewhere, like it wasn't bad. It was just a betrayal to all things I love in World of Warcraft. That's all. There's nothing, no big deal.
well, Yeah, it was still kind of a bad movie, but um, but like they're like, there's so many things that they could do. There's so many different cartoon anime streams they could do. There's so many different shows they could make. There's so many different ways you could do that.
I mean, that music video followed players, right? It was a band of players adventuring through the world who obviously fought, Arthas and some of these other like main characters, but it was the player experience. Did you get to watch the Dungeons and Dragons movie?
Oh yeah, the new one or the old one?
The new one. In the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, the experience that you have as a viewer is synonymous with the experience you have as a player. Like the
Yeah, it was
adventures
great.
and
I
the
loved it.
antics and everything that happens in the movie. It's what you would expect to find if you were to sit down at a table and play Dungeons and Dragons with your friends. Like the things that would happen. You're not always in a heroic moment. Sometimes you roll a one. I think that whoever wrote that and put that together, they did a really good job. And there seems to be lessons taken from that and other media that's been made like that, especially for like World of Warcraft, right? Because you can see in the music video that's exactly what they did. You can see those players. Those players are not players. They were characters, but everyone, quite a lot of people can see those characters in the music video and go, "Oh, those are players. That's a player experience."
I haven't seen the video. I'll go watch it after this. I'm really curious about
Yeah,
what you're saying.
it's a decent music video, or well, the song, right? It's interesting because it's not like Warcraft music like that you hear in the game, but her vocals really fit really really well. And as you watch, it's granted it's from the perspective of like three alliance players, but if you're familiar with the zones and the leveling that you go through, and if you're familiar with Dunmorrow and you're familiar with the raids, you'll recognize it. You'll recognize that there's like this progression. They're like as they're like building their party and kind of adding people to it. It's
Hmm.
it's
Hate
really good.
everything Alliance, so that's gonna be rough.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to just be alliance, right? It could actually. I was
Goddamn
even
Carinella.
mentioning it before that if you were make a TV show, an anime that was just like that music video following a story like that, you could do it about a party of horde players and a party of alliance players, and there's so many crossovers, right? Like there was the battle between the airships in Ice Crown, but quite a lot of Alliance and Horde players made it to the fight with Arthas. Like when
You know, it'd be
you
a
if
genius anime. Check this out. What if you did the same story and you had a group of Horde and you had a group of Alliance, and it would be two different animes you could watch, and that way, and they have different events that it's from their perspective,
I
so
mean you
you
could
would
do it in the
watch
same
both of them.
anime.
So what I'm saying, you could
You
actually
wouldn't have to
have two.
split those up. I mean, yeah, you can, but you wouldn't have to. You can put them all in the same thing so they have the same art style. But have you ever watched the Hurricane created trailers?
No.
There's an animator who got hired by Blizzard. His name is Hurricane. He would make there would be like a classic patch coming out for like Wrath Lich King or the Burning Crusade or something, and he would make like the CGI 3D trailer, and it would show like these highlights from that patch, right? And there was a patch that was I believe there's one for like Ice Crown or something, right? And in the trailer that he had made, it showed this huge battle outside Ice Crown or outside the Ice Crown Citadel, and then it showed them kicking the doors in, and when they were fighting Marogar, the guy does a bone storm in the beginning, right at the front, right? It was like over 100 players like in the room, like as they stormed in through the doors, like the players themselves, like the characters were tiny, like in terms of like when we walk into Ice Crown, they were like 10-20 times smaller than what we stand when we are in there. So he scaled everything up he was able to fit like hundreds of models into the room with Myrogar, and then you see them all like just fighting this giant monster. And the thought process, right? The idea that you're supposed to put in your head while you're watching this is, oh, okay, in the game we're limited by mechanics, and I'm only able to play with 25 people when I go to Ice Crown and I fight. But the reality of the situation is I'm I'm in here with 24 other guild members in my little platoon, and there's like 40 other platoons that burst the door down in this place, and we're like gonna go to kick Arthas's teeth in, and we're all gonna, like, maybe not all of us are gonna show up there, but most of us are gonna show up there, and it's gonna be like this huge amount of players that are at the fight with Arthas. Like, it's not just you and 24 other people who got raced to world first or something, right? Like, that's the perspective that animator had taken. He got hired on by Blizzard. They have sort of ran with that idea where the meta, right, the perspective of what you're looking at in when you experience like these animations is from the player perspective.
Right, which makes a lot of sense, especially like as an example for Arthas, just the buildup of the Argent Dawn and the Argent Crusade, and just um, how many they're supposed to be getting, especially with the Argent tournament, supposed to, gather everybody together, get the best of the best, and everything. Um, but another good point is that we also know essentially who wins what battle from the what is it, the Warcraft lore books. I'm blanking on the name, but I have a few behind me next to the Warcraft Chronicles. That's it. Um, we know what uh, uh, faction is supposed to win what battles, and exactly, how many are supposed to be there as well from the Chronicles. So we they can definitely and probably will, delve into that as well. So it's not just necessarily interpretation, um, but Blizzard knows themselves. So
Yeah, I think, I just can't wait till we get. I know that we were promised it. They were being vague about it, but I know what I was being promised. I was being promised an anime or a movie or a TV show or something, and I just can't wait till we get it.
yeah, definitely.
All right, so that is going to be it for us today. We're going to wrap this up now. We've gone through all of our news topics that we have for the week. It was a little bit of a light week, this one, but yeah, we'll look forward to next week. Before we go, I wanted to point out that if you want to support the show, the best way is through our Patreon. Every bit helps us keep the lights on, improve the production, and keep this going every week. The URL for that is patreon.com/lastattemptpod. If you can't spare the gold, that's totally fine. You can still help in a big way at no cost. Listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating, leave a review. We love reading those. And if you know anybody that used to play WoW, that is thinking about playing WoW, send this podcast to them. The people who are listening, all of our listeners, you guys are doing great. We're getting a lot of views on all of our platforms, on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple. So really appreciate you guys listening, and really appreciate anybody that you guys can share this with. It's a big help. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and all of those are our username is Last Attempt Pod on all those sites. The Discord link is in the description for the YouTube and the Apple and Spotify podcast, so you can always find us there. If you are thinking about joining a Mythic Progression Guild, we are not in Mythic yet, but we're working there pretty soon. Definitely follow the link for the Discord. We have a channel in the Discord for joining Second Attempt, and you can ask questions there. Strom, do you ever stream on Twitch or anything, or have like a online presence, something online you want people to know about?
No, yeah, we had a fun one about just Discord earlier. Yeah, I am not. No, you can find me in game. on one of my characters if you want to fight me, and we can go do stuff. But other than that, no, I'm not. I don't. Not
All
for
right,
me.
yeah, the mysterious Straam. He no online presence there. I, of course, try and fail to stream on Twitch, but one of these days I'm gonna be very motivated, and I'm just gonna do it, and you're all gonna be surprised when I do it. Um, but that URL, of course, is twitch.tv/squirrelthug underscore. You guys can find me there. But you know who does actually stream because they're consistent and they know what they're doing? Templar Ivanhoe. Why don't you tell
Yes.
these people what your easy to spell URL is?
Yep. It's just all one word, thehumandistraction.com, and it'll take you straight to my Twitch page. And really only just stream whenever we do our raid, but you can always come in and check it out.
All right, yeah. So that's gonna be us today. Again, thanks for coming, Strom. Really appreciate it. It's great to have people from the guild showing up. So hopefully we get some more people in here.
Yeah, it was fun. I'd love to do it again. It's fun talking shop.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. This. It's always a blast to be able to come on and just casually talk about World of Warcraft. We all love this game, and again, it's always good to have you on here, Templar. Great to have you back again as a host here.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure.
All right, and that's going to be us for the 12th episode of the Last Attempt podcast. We will see you all later. Goodbye.
See ya.
Later.